My name's Mackenzie, and I started a GoFundMe for the adoptive mother of a nonverbal autistic child. The mother had lost her job because she wasn't able to find adequate care for this autistic child. So she really needed some help with living expenses, paying some back bills. So I launched a GoFundMe to help support them during this crisis. And we raised about $10,000 within just a couple of months. I think that the surprising thing was by telling a clear story and just really being very clear about what we needed, we had some really generous donations from people who were really moved by the situation that this family was struggling with.
GoFundMe is the world's #1 fundraising platform trusted by over 200 million people. Start your GoFundMe today at GoFundMe.com. That's GoFundMe.com. GoFundMe.com. This podcast is supported by GoFundMe.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Streamed and Screened, an entertainment podcast about movies and TV from Lee Enterprises. I'm Terry Lipshetz, managing editor of the National Newsroom at Lee, and co-host of the program with Bruce Miller, longtime entertainment reporter. And we're back at the back end of the Olympics here. We are wrapping things up. Actually, by the time this episode drops, we'll be just past the closing ceremonies. But they are still ongoing now. But yeah, here we are at more Olympics.
I'm trying to get through withdrawal here as it is, just to be able to, what a wild, who would have thought the way things have turned out? Because the quad god, everybody was predicting the quad god. He's
Right.
got, right? And here you get a guy that I've never seen him before, but I'm happy for him. I'm glad he won the gold, but it points up that old saw that it's one day only. And that's where the problem goes. Same thing with Chalk and Bates. Everybody said Chalk and Bates are going to win the gold. They ended up with silver. And if you happen to watch on Netflix, there was a 3-part miniseries called Glitter and Gold Ice Dancing. And it was about the three who were kind of in the mix for the finals. And Chalk and Bates, they kind of said, well, it kind of looks like it's their time. There's this couple from Canada that had been in just as long. We're having the same kind of issues. And then there's this upstart, Cizeron and Laurent, whatever her last name is. She's got a hyphenated name. But they were, they've only been together since March, so we're not really so sure about that. But the miniseries was really good to get a sense of what the personalities were like. Because you see Madison Chalk as a real controller. You can see that, whatever the husband wants to do, he ain't saying it. He's keeping quiet, because if she says we're wearing that long skirt, that was a big problem. She's wearing the long skirt. I would have said ditching the skirt the first day she brought it out, and they tripped on it. But there you go. The Canadians, they decided to pull back an old program that they hadn't done for a while. And that was interesting to see, too, because you think, if they go back to some old thing, they're not getting anywhere with that. So that was interesting to see. And then to see how these newcomers, who both had different partners, Guillaume Cizeron, had won the last one. And he had a different partner. She has since written a book that says he was too controlling and there were too many issues there. And so, what's the truth there? There's something about some abuse thing with her ex-partner, but these two were friends, and they decided that they would get together and just see what happens, because they weren't ready to retire. Well, they get on ice, and they've got those kind of moves that look like an ice dancer. And you see them going back and forth with these three couples. It's still on, and it's one you should look at. And you get a sense of them. You get a sense of, I understand now why those two won. Because they were a little freer, a little more artistic, and a little less kind of driven about everything. Because if they didn't win, they didn't win. We had that before when Torvill and Dean came back. If you remember, they let professionals back in at one point.
Right.
The best they got was a bronze, maybe.
Yeah.
You see this, what have we got to lose? We've got nothing to lose. Now, they need to do another episode that talks about the judging, because was that French judge helping them in a way that they shouldn't have, or
Right.
was there more there? I don't know. But it's fascinating to watch. They talk about the costuming. The amount of effort they put into all of this is unbelievable. And Chalk and Bates had not even undone the last set of costumes they wore, or their Ralph Lauren team outfits from the 2022 games.
Okay.
They were like hidden away because they didn't want to think about that, because they didn't win and they didn't get anywhere with it. And you go, oh my God, really? Is this how
Yeah.
this goes? But I guess they just get so caught up in this world where it's not reality at all. It's a real kind of manufactured, and it'd be a great mini series too. I mean,
Yeah.
a reality series where they're fighting to get through this stuff. But yes, it's so good. I love that. That was a good kind of pause for me from all these other things. Jordan Stoltz, I think, is a god, and I'm so thrilled that he won so far 2 gold and 1 silver in the speed skating. He doesn't
Yeah.
seem to be phased by anything, and I love the way he's just kind of going with the flow. Same with Michaela Schifrin. The idea that she won gold, thank you, Jesus, that happened.
Right.
And then she said, the first thing she said is dad. And she tells her story. And if you hear that in any of these broadcasts, she talks about how important it was that her dad was, he got her going on all of this. And then he died and he wasn't there for this one. And she thinks that maybe this is this was kind of the letting go or whatever, but it was a good thing she got it. And she seemed grateful for it too. Um,
Yeah.
but to see some of these other countries where good luck. What is your option there? If I went to the Netherlands, I would think, oh, if you're not speed skating, you're nobody.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's a country like, really? Wow. Is speed skating that big in the Netherlands that everybody's doing it?
Tulips at
But
speed skating. That's what you're going for.
right. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not going there because I've never been there, so I don't know what the vibe is. But yeah, and they've got really hardcore people. I always worried about like communist countries where if they didn't win, is that a bad thing? Is it suddenly
Right.
the country disowns you and you're not one of our people? So that's
Right.
always kind of comes into play when you're watching these things. But you know, I've seen so many videos on Instagram, you name it, any of the social medias where they're grading the food at the
Mhm.
village, or they're unpacking the clothes, or they're talking pin trading. And I'm surprised that pin trading is back. It was big when I went in '88 to the Olympics, but it was new then. It was not a thing. And it's back now with a vengeance. But I think they're all creating their own pins so that then they have
Yeah.
kind of currency to trade with.
Yeah. Did you? I read a story that there was it was, I think, one or two people, a couple friends maybe from the LA area. They were heading to Italy, basically to trade pins, and they were packing something like 30,000 pins with them. Like, it's crazy. But I was thinking about it. You're going to these countries, right? So you have airfare, you've got hotel accommodations, you have to eat. It's not cheap, right? This is not an inexpensive vacation. So if you want some souvenirs and maybe even a bunch of souvenirs, this is probably one of the more inexpensive types of souvenirs you can get, is if you can get into whether you're just pin trading or maybe you spend a few dollars and buy some pins. It's kind of a unique hobby that's very specific to the Olympics, and probably it lets you accumulate a lot of mementos in a short period of time at a relatively low cost.
Well, and some of the US ones are trading off some of the clothes they got,
Sure.
because that's good. But when I went to the Olympics, I thought, "Oh, I wanna get a Russian one. I need a Russian pin." I found a Russian pin, but it didn't have the right year on it. Somebody had made
Oh,
some bogus ones, and I got it. I spent the money for it. But the idea of trading, once I got one, I would never trade it. I would have
Yeah.
to do something that, what is the thing I wouldn't want? Well,
Right.
now it's that Russian pin that was no good. But yeah, so it was a different thing. And then what do you do with the pins after you get home? They go in a binder, or you have the lanyard or whatever.
Right. I mean, well, they're, like most people who accumulate things, they just end up sitting and collecting dust because
Right.
what else are you going to do with it? Right.
Well, and now if you're thinking about it, the 2028 Olympics, they're starting to put the tickets on sale.
Yeah.
Oh, you have
Yeah.
to jump now. You can't wait. It's just like concerts. You have to be ready at
Yeah.
least a year in advance, or else
I
you're
know.
getting a bad seat.
Yeah. I know somebody that's going. They entered the lottery, and I don't know if the whole family of 5 is going to go or if it's just a couple of them or what, but yeah, it's a fun time. It's been an interesting Olympics. I think every time there's an Olympics, like I think back to like a Dan Jansen falling, or
Right.
just somebody tripping or getting injured. There's always been this there's always folks that they're hyped up. You remember, like what was it, Dan or Dave, right? Uh uh
Oh,
the
yes, yes, it was for
like
the
way back. Yeah, the
decathlon.
decathlon, right? From, I don't know what it was, the 92 Olympics, who's going to win, Dan or Dave? And I think one of them didn't even qualify for the Olympics, and the
Well, I
other
think
one
the other
kind
one
of
was like
fell short.
3rd, right?
Right, but it's always, so there's always this hype of like, and people, and when you hype people up, then it's when they have that miscue, which inevitably, because these are athletics, people, they mess up, or they just have a bad day, or somebody, maybe they don't have a bad day, maybe they have a really good day. Like with Jordan Stoltz when he got the silver, when he was heavily favored to win a 3rd gold, you just had somebody else who had a better day than he did. It's not like he underperformed; somebody else overperformed. So it's, you get this hype, right? And the thing that I see different now compared to 10, 20 years ago is the mental aspect of it, where athletes are saying that, the mental toll it's taking on them. And you wonder, should these athletes maybe get off of social media before they go to these things? Like, I'm going to just deactivate everything, right? Like, I'm going to turn off everything from Facebook to, I was going to call it Twitter, but X, to Instagram, to everything. I'm just going to go radio silence and tune everything out, because I feel as if athletes today are so consumed with social media and what people are thinking and perceptions and everything that it's almost getting inside their heads. It's almost worse than anything else before.
And it's a way for them to make money, because
Right.
if you get if you get enough sponsors, or whatever you would call that, where you can make some bucks off it, and then you have a brand, you're trying to sell
Right.
a brand. It's like way out of, no, I don't want to mess with this junk. I don't want to show you how I get ready in the morning. I don't want to do any of that stuff. And I think really the ones who, remember how they would wait and they wouldn't come to the Olympics until maybe 2 or 3 days before they started, before they had
Right.
competition. And I think that's a better way of doing it. I remember in the 88 Olympics, where Liz Manley, who was from Canada, they told her she couldn't be around the games. They said, you're going to go somewhere else, and so that then you're not distracted by all of this. And she
Right.
did. She got a silver medal, and they were
Yeah.
not counting on that. And I think that's a good thing. I also, if they're that rich, because some are, get a hotel room and then have somebody watch so that nobody's trying to talk. And I would say, I'm not doing any interviews until it's over. I'll do it
Yeah.
then.
Well, right. And then, you look at like the U.S. men's basketball team, that's a group that pretty much stayed off campus. They were renting
Right.
hotels and not staying in, because you can't. You're too famous. This Olympics, I think one of the more controversial situations has been Eileen Gu, who is American born.
Yeah.
She goes to Stanford, right? Raised in the U.S., but she's representing China, and she's also a social media personality. There's been a lot of complaints about her with the publicity and the interviews and all this stuff. And then, obviously I think a lot of folks are upset because she's an elite athlete and representing China instead of the US. So that probably doesn't help. But, again, it's always a funny thing to me with that is it does kind of go both ways, right? It's you don't mind it, I guess, when it's an athlete who would have been, the 33rd person qualifying for the US, but they decide to based on their Italian heritage or some other heritage, they're going to go compete for another country. Well, that's fine, but because it's China, it's not. But then again, too, there's obviously a lot of issues, human rights questions and stuff, and about China. So there's so many different aspects to that story. But on the flip of it, we for years as in this country have welcomed the oppressed to represent us. We took advantage of a lot of Eastern European athletes that decided to defect from Germany or wherever during the Cold War and happily,
Have
right?
a partner that's from Russia.
Right.
It is what it is. It's interesting to see that, but maybe the US wasn't making an offer that was as lucrative or as encouraging as
Right.
another country. And
Yeah.
you've got to look at it. They get an attention thing every 4 years.
Yeah.
What happens between there, and you need training money to be able to do these kinds of things. Now, she's
Right.
a whole different thing because she's a model and all that, and she's got money. She doesn't need to worry about it. But it was nice of her to honor her as her mother
Right. Yep.
and let it be. We have a
Right.
snowboarder who won a silver for the United States a few years ago and is now representing Great Britain.
Yeah.
And I think it was because there was younger talent that probably would have beat him off the team if he tried to get in the United States. But Great Britain probably doesn't have that strong of a team. He got on. Now, I don't
Right.
know how well he did, but the idea for a lot of them, it's another boost of attention. You'll get
Yep.
it, and maybe that'll help them get to the next level. I don't, who knows?
Right.
I would be
Right.
so thrilled just getting the clothes. The free clothes that they give you, that's enough for me. And the idea that you get to go eat somewhere, I wouldn't complain about the food at all, even if it was bad. But if I got to a cafeteria where it's like, have as much as you want, you're fine.
Right.
And then they're giving things to these Olympics. Oh, yeah, I love it. It's great. But and then, you look at it and you think, well, if I didn't get gold, was I a loser? And I think bronze, you're just grateful.
Yep.
Silver, was it that close? And and again, it's all based on the day. It's
Right.
not. This is so stupid that people don't point this out more often. Is if you had stomach flu in the morning and then you're supposed to do something in the afternoon, you're still going to have stomach flu. You're still going to feel tough. And you aren't at the top of your game. I would have to have somebody make sure that they were cooking for me the whole time, so I wasn't getting any kind of this tainted food. The minute I was done with my category, whatever it might be, then I'd go to town and just eat everything and be the social one. But
Yep.
until then, I would just be I'd be afraid of somebody giving me some flu.
Right.
I shake hands with somebody or I talk to a reporter. The reporter seems to have COVID. And then am I coming down with it? It's too much chance. There's too much. Maybe they need to reinvent the games into a, best of, do it every year. And then one year they give the medals out. But I don't know. It's in that glitter and gold too. They show you all those lead up competitions, the Grand Prix things. And
Oh yeah.
they have to win one of those to be able to get into the finals. And that's the goal, because if you don't get in the finals, you're not really considered a contender. The other thing
Sure.
that's interesting is that some of those judges come and watch their rehearsals. And you
Oh
go, was that right? Well, they know in advance what you're able to do or what you can't do.
yeah.
So I don't know that that's fair.
Yeah.
But
The judging has changed a lot though, because you remember the old days of judging. It's they're holding up the signs, right? Like
right,
10 or
right.
9.5. It's gotten a lot more scientific, I guess, where you submit your program in advance, and your program, depending on the twists and turns and moves you make, are it gives you a calculated score, calculated maximum score, and then as you perform, you get, you know, additions and subtractions, and then there's of course some judging on it. So I think it's a little less um open to scandal like it may have been in the past, but it's still, there is that human element still in it.
If you're scoring the one team lower than everybody, and then you
Right.
score the team from your country higher than everybody,
Yeah.
that's a little suspect. And I think
Yeah.
they should call into question those kinds of judges, because
Yeah.
they had the scandal a couple of how many cycles ago, and they gave 2 gold medals out because they did say, yeah, it seems a little suspicious here. Let's look at this again.
Right.
So
Yeah. Right. Well, and then the big controversy too with curling, where the double touch of the stone, and they're bringing in the judge. But this is like a gentlemanly sport, right? Where we score each other, we judge it ourselves. They bring in the official, and I'm seeing this, and now me as an official, I'm somebody that umpires baseball and softball, and I have to go through training and I have to take tests, and I'm seeing like the official who's there doesn't really exactly know the rules, and I'm just kind of mortified by this whole thing. Like how do you have officials in an Olympic level sport who don't know the rules, right?
well, but then when the one starts swearing with words that we wouldn't use if we were in
Right.
public, and you're going,
Yep.
wow, this is really
Wow.
something. And it's a Canadian
Yep.
that's using the words.
I know.
Canadians were nicer than that, but
I know. I thought that was hilarious. But here you are.
yeah.
So what else? Before we wrap up the show, what else do you have on your agenda here?
Well, I have been watching all new series. I watched The Fall and Rise of Reggie Dinkins. That's the thing with um, uh, Tracy Morgan and
Oh,
Daniel.
right. Yeah.
Interesting. I would not make Tracy Morgan the star of any show, but Daniel Radcliffe is pretty equal in this, and he's playing a documentary filmmaker. And it's a fascinating look at the world of sports and what happens when the applause disappears.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and then Scrubs, which is, I think, having 2 episodes to begin with to kind of get you back into it, and then you find out what happened to these people, and they set it up very much like The Pit, where
Okay.
um, JD, the Zach Braff character, is in charge of a bunch of young doctors.
Okay.
That's kind of fun. And then I've watched, there's Young Sherlock, The Artful Dodger, their Night Agent, and then Night Manager that are coming. Paradise is in there. So it's a lot of stuff that's coming. And I think this is, and then all of those big, the Yellowstone reboot.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot that's on the table, but we got to get through the Olympics first, I think.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I know. Night Agent was one. My wife and I watched the first 2 seasons, and I thought season 1 was a little bit better than season 2, but I think we're still gonna hop into season 3 once that one drops. And we did see Paradise. We ended up watching season 1 of that. It was an interesting premise, another one of these post-apocalyptic type of
Right.
sci-fi shows. I am kind of curious about season 2 to see how that comes together. I mean, we love Sterling K. Brown. I mean, he's always a great actor to watch, but the show, that it feels like the type of show that can quickly jump the shark. It's like season 1 could be strong, but depending on which direction season 2 takes, like, if you think back even to a show like Westworld on HBO,
Right.
the first season or 2, how amazing it was, but then once they left that contained theme park universe and entered the real world, it became a lot more bizarre and a lot less enjoyable. So we'll kind of see where does Paradise go. But yeah, it's a lot of shows are coming with the wrap up of the Olympics and post NFL, and it's kind of a prime time now to get some of these shows back. So looking forward to some of those things. By the way, did you see we got a trailer for the new Mandalorian and Grogu movie? I know we've gotten some teasers, but they dropped the full 2-minute trailer recently.
What do you think?
I am looking forward to this. It's
But will it go
um
there, or is this a one shot and we're done?
well, this is I mean this is kind of like tying that series together. I don't know if there's going to be anything more after this with Mando and Grogu. Um I also heard that this is like the least expensive Star Wars movie filmed in forever. Like since Disney bought it, it's the cheapest movie ever made. So or they're kind of reining in because some of those effects have gotten a little bit bizarre.
Yeah.
It sounds like, the showrunners here, Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, are running a tighter ship on this, and maybe we'll get a just more like story. Go back to the classics where we're telling a story and relying less on special effects. But the trailer, there was a lot of Easter eggs in this trailer. Don't have time to get into every single one of them here, but there was some rumors about, Martin Scorsese being in the movie, and he's there in the trailer. He voices an alien. And it does sound very Marty, like very New York Marty. So
he's just a voice. He's not wearing an outfit.
right. That you won't recognize him, but when you I'll tell you, it's this character where Mandalorian drops a coin down looking for information, and it's like, yeah, for that kind of money, I'll tell you what you need to know. And then makes a reference to I think, like one of the huts, like Road to the Hut, and he's like, gotta go, and he slams down the front of his shop and takes off. So yeah, it was kind of interesting to hear that. I don't know what the story was, how he got involved with it, if it was just a friendly type of thing or what, but an interesting little cameo, and you got Sigourney Weaver in the movie. So I'm looking forward to it.
Just a drive-by.
No, she's got a relatively, she's like I don't want to say rebel because this takes place after the fall of the Empire. So I guess she's more of like a New Republic commander or something.
Remember when he was in one of them and like,
oh yeah. That's
what I worry about. If you're just putting him in to put the name in and then kind of get the rub off.
Yeah, no, I think it's supposed to be a little bit more of a full role, but again, we'll see come May 22nd. So.
All right, I can hardly wait. Well, and that could be a good summer kickoff.
Right. That's what I'm hoping for. They have not released a Star Wars movie into theaters in years because they just
what's made for. That's what they're there for.
Right. I know. We need to get back into theaters with this franchise. So we'll see. But yeah, that's where we're at. Anything else on the horizon for you?
Well, there's a little show called the Oscars coming up, and I think
we'll
recap that pretty soon because they've kind of gone underground at this point. We don't hear a lot about them because what's taking all the air? It's the Olympics.
So, yep, there you go. That's going to be a busy weekend, but I think that's also Selection Sunday for the NCAA tournament. So, man, it is going to be crazy weekend coming up. So, on that note, thank you for listening, and we'll be back again next week with another episode of Streamed and Screened.